Good afternoon and happy Sabbath, Covenant Advent Church. And good afternoon and happy Sabbath to those of you who've joined us online. Welcome back for our evening study. And I pray that you will be richly blessed as we spend the rest of the Sabbath together and hear words on health. So we will begin with our opening hymn, number 511. Hymn number 511. Please turn to hymn number 511. Amen. I'll now turn the evening's program over to Pastor Lloyd Grubb.
Good evening again, everyone, as we do our live presentation here on diabetes. So this is our health seminar, natural health seminar on diabetes, and we're looking at how to treat and how to take care of diabetes. So welcome again, everybody is joined back, whether you've joined back on whichever of the streaming platforms that we stream at. So God bless you and thanks for your time and your presence. Let us pray. Our Father, I pray your blessing upon us, blessing upon these health principles that we'll be looking at and solutions, dear Father, for diabetes. May you bless each and every one out there who is either suffering from this disease or here to learn so that they can share with their loved ones and those that they're in contact with. Bless us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So we're looking at diabetes, right? Diabetes is an important issue that's going on right now. And as I say, for the rest, every Sabbath or Saturday evening at 5, and probably later on I'll go to 5:30 as the sun set later. We'll be looking at various different natural health solution for various different diseases. So at least for the next few weeks, we have diabetes this week. Next week, we're going to look at some natural treatments for uh, coronavirus or COVID-19, and then the following week we're going to look at another comorbidity of COVID-19, which is coronary artery problems. So this is our lineup for the next few Sabbaths or Saturday evening, whichever way you want to have it viewed. So the aim of this presentation is how to naturally heal and prevent diabetes. So if you have diabetes, you want to follow these processes or principles, whether it be type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and how to heal and how to prevent it. And I should probably have stated there also how to maintain or increase your health in this. So diabetes mellitus, aka diabetes, is a disease where a person has high blood sugar because the body does not produce enough insulin, or because cells do not respond to insulin that is produced. So most of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to focus in, especially on the second half or the last part of the presentation, is how to deal with this idea of making the cells respond to insulin so that the insulin can dock or get the sugar inside of the cell. Symptoms is polyuria, which is frequent urination. So last Sabbath, I think somebody on the I think the YouTube comment was saying that they have this problem with frequent urination, and I posted some things to do to deal with the frequent urination, whether it be supplements or herbs. Polydipsia, which is increased thirst. Polyphagia, which is increased hunger. And all of these we're going to deal with as each individual's solutions for each of these. And so we believe in trying to treat also the symptoms, but also just to treat the overall disease itself. So large amount of glucose passing through the bloodstream can harm the arteries. So what it is that normally you need the glucose and the insulin to work together and to connect with each other and then bring the glucose inside of the cell, not floating around in the bloodstream. If you have too much of this floating around in your bloodstream, then there's a problem, and this is where somebody now will take insulin, but the person can have an insulin problem where the cell or the body is not responding to insulin, or the cells is not allowing the insulin to pull the sugar in, and so we want to have solutions for that. If not addressed, this can cause damage to the heart, blood vessels, the eyes, kidney, and extremities. So we'll give solutions for all of that, what to do to fix all of this problem that occurs because of that. So diabetes defined, and as I say, I want to remind you, not only this is important, on, I think it was Tuesday, Brother Morgan from Washington State had asked me about a solution for diabetes because somebody knew, and I wanted to, I say I have a presentation, but I didn't have it recorded. I've done this presentation before. There's some new material I added here, but I guess I never recorded it on video. So this is a perfect time for me to record it. And also, as you know, because of the coronavirus, this is one of the comorbidity where many people who have uncontrolled diabetes are dying at high rates, and they're dying. A big part of the problem also is then from kidney failure or renal failure. So we want to be able to address all of that this afternoon, this evening. So fat accumulation within the cell block blocks insulin ability to work. So what it is, and I'm going to give you more information on this in a few minutes, is that our cells need, for mitochondria and other things to work, our cells need glucose, but the insulin is what pull the glucose and dock it into the cell. And so if the cell is too fatty, if there's too much lipid in the cell, then the cell now become gunked up. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And because of that gunking up, the cell cannot receive the sugar, so the cell is basically starving. And if your cell is starving, then it's going to tell your body that you need to be fed more because you don't have enough food. Well, you have enough food, you have enough energy. So the problem is not the energy, the problem is the getting the energy to the source or to where it needs it. So study published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2004 explained why. The study tests young, thin, healthy adults who had family history of type 2 diabetes. None had diabetes, but were insulin resistant. when giving glucose tests, the results showed that the glucose accumulated more than it should have in the bloodstream. And so, what many people have come to realize is that you could actually be very thin and have a blood sugar problem. The cause, tiny amount of fat inside muscle cells. The adults were able to produce insulin normally, and it reached their muscle cells with no problem. Once it got there, though, it did not work properly. The muscle cells simply could not fully respond to insulin because they contained bits of fat like gum jammed in a lock. So the studies show that you can be slim but have fat accumulating within your cells. So this is important for you to think. I remember when I was in my early 20s that I was, significantly clogged up. Without me have to go to a doctor. I remember I would sleep, I would wake up and my hand would be cramped up. I would have bad circulation. But I was very slim. I would always jog. I would jog even through the winter, and I always kept a slim physique. But my diet was horrendous. What people eat for food or for dinner, and then have a snack. I would eat a snack, and then the dinner would be the snack. In other words, my main meal would be junk food or sweet food, and then my snack would be food. That's how I ate in my 20s, like a child that had no parents. So, what would happen? I became very clogged up and I realized that you could be very slim, but the amount of fat you're consuming caused the whole system to be clogged up. And I realized if I'd continued on that road, I would have developed diabetes. And this is clearly what that study shows. So, the first thing we have to do, and the simplest thing, diabetes is a very difficult disease to deal with, but a very simple disease. Everything I'm going to say here is very simple and is very intuitive. It's not very difficult. The problem is it's the getting the self-control to deal with it. So cleaning out the biological clock to help insulin key to work. So the insulin is a key and it opens the door of the cell to allow the sugar or the glucose to get in. So if the insulin is there and the sugar is there, the glucose is there, but the insulin not opening the door because the door needs some WD-40. So this presentation is going to tell you how to do WD-40. I remember years back I was living at an apartment and the door wasn't working or something wasn't working that has to do with a lock. And the maintenance guy came and he sprayed WD-40 in the lock. And it, like a miracle, the door worked and the key was easy. Before you had to fight with it and you fought and fought, it stopped working. And what I realized is just needed something to lubricate it and to get it going again. And so everything we're going to talk about here is going to do that for you. 1979 researchers at the University of Kentucky studied 20 men with type 2 diabetes, all of whom had been taking an average of 26 units of insulin per day. The experimental diet included plenty of vegetables, fruits, whole grain, and beans, so it was high in fiber and carbohydrate. The diet was nearly vegetarian, very little fat of any kind. After just 16 days on the program, more than half of the men were able to stop taking insulin entirely, and their blood sugar levels were lower than before. So 50% of them after 16 days. So you can see the diabetes is not a difficult thing to deal with. It's the difficulty comes with you and I after we get the information. So getting the information, this is what we're doing. Doing it is doable. Now, I know somebody might say that, it's these experiments and normally people don't maintain this type of diet long term. But as you know, we believe in this type of diet and we believe long term you can get the good result if you maintain these diets. So after 16 days, I say to anybody that, within 3 months or less, you can get massive return for your investment when it comes on to making these changes. Because all you're going to do is you're going to cut the fat out. So what you do by cutting the fat out, you're removing the gunk out of the lock. If the gunk get removed out of the lock, then all of a sudden the insulin, which is the key, can open the cell door and then the sugars can get in. And now you're not starving. So if you're not starving now, cell-wise at a cellular level, then what it is, your body, when you eat, will tell you you're full, you're good enough. You don't have to eat anymore. I have enough sugars because the system is working. Large population studies showed that diabetes was rare in Japan, China, Thailand, and other Asian countries, as well as in parts of Africa. So you think about it, where there was no this modern way of eating, copious amount of fried chicken and fried, steak and burgers, they normally would have high amount of carbs in their diet, but no diabetes. So again, these studies also show that people in countries where diabetes was uncommon were not following anything like the diabetes diet. So I want to keep that in mind. If you're a diabetic, or you're familiar with what the doctors tell diabetes to do, or the Diabetics Association of America, everything we talk about here going forward will contradict it. Because why is they tell you how to maintain diabetes with the crazy diet that we have in the modern countries. So it just doesn't jive. But you go places where they eat huge amount of carbs. They don't have diabetes to the level or any type of level where we have it. So there's something wrong, right? So they eat starchy food daily, high amount of starch. I think one of the countries that eats so much starch and almost have no diabetes if they stay to their type of diet is like Ghana. And I think they eat, can't remember, it's like 6 times or more the starch on a daily basis. Just high amount of starch. And if you think about like the people who do like athletics, the people who do these long distance running and stuff like that, they eat high amount of starch, but you need that starch to be able to do long distance and certain type of rigorous beat down of the body. Normally, in Jamaica they say they used to call it Negaman food. A Negaman food, you know what a Negaman food is? Things like cassava, yams, potatoes, heavy starch. If you're gonna do hard work in the field on a plantation, cutting sugar cane and stuff like that, you have to eat Negaman food. You can't eat chips and French fries and Pringles and burgers and stuff like that. You die. You have to have hard food for hardback men, right? So in fact, researchers found that people in these countries ate considerably more carbohydrates than North Americans and Europeans do. Yet diabetes was really relatively rare. So were weight problem. So you go into certain countries, see they have a weight problem, but again, they're not eating, steak and liver and kidney and stuff all day long. So while obesity is found in more than 30% of American adults, it occurs in less than 1% of Japanese adults following a traditional diet. So if a Japanese follow a traditional diet, they will have very low amount of obesity amongst them. While we know now it is about close to 39% of Americans are obese, and another smaller percentage are morbidly obese out of that 39%. And they've done a study recently, and they did surveys of people who are Japanese in Bergen County area, which is one of the most affluent area in New Jersey and in the country and in the world. And they find that the Japanese over there have higher rates of diabetes than the Japanese in Japan, because they're eating so much of the American diet. And so they have higher rates of diabetes, coronary artery problems, and other problems. Researchers have had to conclude that a high carbohydrate diet is not the cause of diabetes. So I'm going to repeat to you again, a high carbohydrate diet is not the cause of diabetes. It's the fat and the gunk in the blood and the amount of stored fat in the middle of the body. In 1999, Dean Ornish, MD, a young Harvard-trained physician, discovered a remarkable feature of a low-fat vegetarian diet. He tested the diet on individuals with heart disease and added other healthy lifestyle changes, regular exercise, which is one of the things you have to do, even if it's just a few minutes every day of regular exercise, stress modification, and smoke cessation. Because the diet contained no animal products, it had no cholesterol at all and very little fat. After a year's time, each patient had a special x-ray of the heart called an angiogram. And Dr. Ornish's team compared the results with angiogram done on the same patients at the beginning of the study. The results made medical history. The patient's coronary arteries, which had been blocked by years of poor diet, were actually started to open again. The difference was clearly visible. 82% of the patients after 1 year had their arteries open up, This occurred without surgery, or drugs, even without cholesterol-lowering medication. So the question is, what do you do with fat? Again, you have to find out how to cut the fat out, animal fats out, and you find the body will actually clean itself up slowly. And then some of the things I'm going to talk about at the end of the presentation will clear up that. Some more information. I'm going to read off a lot of these information because I know if you say these type of things to somebody with diabetes, it's probably shocking to them because it doesn't sound like what their doctor say. So many of it I'm reading it from other doctors. So there's other doctors out there who really have seen that you can just change the diet and lifestyle. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about some herbs and supplementation that will give you remarkable results. A1C, the principal gauge of blood glucose control. The ADA diet had, the American Dietetic Association diet had reduced A1C by 0.4% point. The vegan diet was 3 times more effective. So I want to tell you this. Just simply by changing the diet to a vegan or a plant-based, 100% plant-based diet, you're going to get 3 times more the benefit. It had reduced A1C by 1.2 percentage points. The average person value fell from 8 to 6.8% during a 22-week period. That is stronger effect that is seen with a typical diabetes medication. The common diabetes drug metformin, glucophage, for example, reduce A1C by about 0.6% point in a large research trial. The vegan diet also proved highly effective in reducing blood weight, body weight, and cholesterol. So just notice here, you can just simply go on a vegan diet, and the vegan diet alone by itself will give you double the result that a drug will give you, metformin or glucophage, which is one of the most famous drugs when it comes on to drugs, period. To put all this in perspective, the landmark UK prospective diabetes study showed that a 1 point drop in A1C for people with type 2 diabetes lowered the risk of eye or kidney complication by 37%. This is effective of just the A1C drop without considering the ability for the diet to also reduce cholesterol and blood pressure. So you're getting multiple results. One of the solutions for using as a supplementation on a regular basis that many have found to be very helpful to not only calm the digestive tract, to help reduce inflammation, but to help with diabetes is aloe vera. The slide is not about aloe vera, but I just put that there because you can do your research on that. So if you consider supplementing with aloe vera on a regular basis, it'd be good for you if you have diabetes. Researchers have shown that among people with any degree of kidney damage, animal protein increased the risk of further kidney deterioration. On the other hand, healthy beans, grains, vegetables are just what the kidney ordered. So every day your kidney say, give me some kidney beans, right? Now, this is important, and I'll pause here a little bit. So what's happening there is this, right? The kidney is, when we talk about renal failure, we're talking about people who have diabetes. And when people have diabetes, they not have kidney problem. One of the fear right now that I've been hearing is if you have to go on dialysis because your kidney is not working, so your blood can get processing. Right now, you're in a bind because you're worried if you go to the hospital, you could pick up the coronavirus. If you don't go, you can't get your kidneys to get a break. Well, what happened is that they've shown that in order for you to give your kidney a break, one of the first things you want to do is eliminate protein or reduce, I should say, protein. And it's best to eliminate animal protein because when you eat protein, it has to be broken down. And it broken down into the basic, what we call, the waste is broken down into uric acid. So urine and purine, right? And you're going to have to pass it on, and your kidney has to do all that work. Now, your kidney can do a lot of work, but when you're under a lot of pressure because of the diet, the kidney is overworked. So one of the things to do to give break to the kidney so the kidney can get a break and not get damaged when we're dealing with things like diabetes is to remove animal protein and to go on a less, just what you need from a day-to-day basis to live when it comes on to plant protein. Because what it is, any protein you partake of, even if it's lentil, it puts work on the kidney. So you want to go on a low protein diet and no animal protein diet. So the kidneys get a break. So if somebody came to me and said, Lloyd, I have to take a lot of insulin. Well, again, this is where you will come in, that the more you have to take is the more you want to give yourself a break. Anything that's going to overwork the pancreas or the kidney, you want to stay away from. Does that make sense? Right? Somebody say, I urinate all the time. If you urinate all the time, you have, what do you call it? Diabetic problem or renal problem. You want to stay away from anything that is a diuretic, anything that's going to force you to always have to urinate. So we're talking about coffee, teas, we're talking about alcohol, any of these things will give you, you can imagine you having a diabetic problem and you drink beer. You just put yourself in all kind of mess, right? In 1991, researchers found that some cow's milk protein ingested by nursing mothers ended up in her breast milk. They came from her digestive tract, were absorbed into her bloodstream, and found their way into the breast milk. So I'll pause here, because I have this slide here for one big thing, because you always have to find out what is causing the disease, because most of what we're talking about here can be applied to type 2 diabetes. But we never stop there because we want to know type 1 diabetes. Now, type 1 diabetes, as you know, is caused by a damage to the pancreas, where the autoimmune system, they believe, attack the pancreas and damage it at an early age. And so the question is, why is it that the system saw the pancreas as enemy and attack it? There has to be something in the system that's not supposed to be there that end up causing the pancreas to be attacked and destroyed or damaged. And so this is normally what happens when we say type 1 diabetes. So this is important. Notice here in 1992, a team from Canada and Finland reported an important discovery in New England Journal of Medicine, examining blood samples from 142 children newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. They found that each of the children had antibodies, which is the thing that the viral thing or whatever things are killing or attacking the system, antibodies that were primed to attack cow's milk protein. Notice there? They had antibodies that were primed to attack cow's milk protein. These antibodies have apparently arisen in response to cow protein in the infant's formula. But the antibodies were also capable of attacking the body's insulin producing cells. So what this study is looking at, they're looking at it and they're wondering, that says, is it that because the animal protein was viewed as the body as foreign, and in viewing it as foreign, the immune system went on an attack to attack it, but because this protein is similar construction to the protein in the pancreas, that at the same time the immune system went and destroyed the pancreas, attacked the pancreas and damaged it and created type 1 diabetes. So these are the type of study they're wondering, why is it these children are coming out with type 1 diabetes? And you have to be able to look at the prevalence of things like type 1 diabetes in places like Canada and Finland, which are countries that consume high amounts of milk. And why would it be you would have to compare that to areas that don't drink milk and to see what is the level of type 1 diabetes? And could it be that kids should never have eaten or partake of cow's milk, they should partake of mother's milk? Because you think about it, a dog would not in a normal day drink a bat, because bats are a mammal, right? Cow's milk. A dog would not drink goat's milk, right? You sure? Right. But human beings will drink another mammal's milk. You want to go to a whale, killer whale, that's what we call, or any of these other type of mammal, and say, well, it's a mammal, give me that milk. But human beings will go to every animal and drink the milk. So is it that the body sees it and then say, oh, I see another protein like it and it's in the pancreas, let's kill it? The researchers believe that the mature digestive tract of adults would not allow the dairy protein to pass through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. But in infants, the molecules pass through more easily. Does that make sense? Because they're not as mature. So that's a side note, but it's a very important note. Because remember, we're talking about how to treat diabetes naturally. So I'm telling you, don't give your kids cow milk, all right? Unless they can milk the cow themselves. So insulin also has other function. One of them is sending signals to our fat cells. Insulin tells the fat cells to pick up fat from the bloodstream, store it, and to avoid burning the fat that they already carry. When insulin levels are chronically elevated, much of the energy in our bloodstream gets selectively deposited into the fat cells and stored. Excess fructose consumed is a known cause of insulin resistance and elevate insulin levels in the blood. So you eat a lot of fructose, and then the insulin say, "Oh, there's a lot of energy. I need to go get the energy and get it into the cells." Right? When this happens, the body has a hard time accessing the stored fat, and the brain starts to think that it is hungry. Then we eat more. So there's a misfiring going on because the body is saying, well, there's so much is going on. We're not burning fat, so probably we need to consume more fat because the body is calling for more energy. But the body is not calling for more energy. Something has gone wrong in the system. So the system is saying, feed me more, but you don't need no more food. So, but the system is going to say, you're still hungry because the cells are starved, basically. So eating a lot of sugar chronically raises insulin level in the blood, which selectively deposit energy from food into the fat cell. So you can see why a person could keep eating, can't stop eating because the body is saying, give me more food. And then as they eat more, the body starts to store the energy all over them because the body is confused because the body was not made to eat all the sugars that we eat. I remember 100 years ago, you could not, if you really try hard, to eat the amount of sugars we eat because we didn't have a lot of this modern processing ability to isolate sugars and create all this plethora of sugars. I was reading something probably a few years ago, and it was talking about either Coca-Cola or Pepsi and how they travel the world trying to find different source of sweetener for their sugary drinks because the primary sweetener they use and the best sweetener they came to a conclusion was sugar, cane sugar. After all these years, cane sugar is still king. They tried to use from different berries, different fruits, different whatever, and they just kept on finding that sugar from cane sugar is the best. But part of that searching for sugar, what is end up happening is that we came up with a list of a lot of sugars. I can't remember if it's over 100 different sources of sugar. Beet sugar, some of the ones that you know. But they came up with some of the xylitol, the stevia, the various different ones. But they find that maltase of the brown sugar or the cane sugar was the best still to sweeten beverages. But what did that do? That basically, the more studied, the more you realize there's more sugar, and then there was more ways to put sugar into the food. And the more sugar you have into the food is the more ways your blood sugar can spike, which 100 years ago, they would not be able to do this, 200 years ago. So now we have a modern problem primarily because we have a way to just get up every day and eat sugar and lard all day long. All right? And that's where the problem is. So fructose also causes weight gain by its effect on the hormone called leptin. Leptin is secreted by fat cells. The bigger the fat cells get, the more leptin they secrete. This is the signal your brain uses to determine how much fat it has stored for a rainy day. When we eat food, some of it gets stored in fat cells. This makes the fat cells get bigger and secrete more leptin. When the brain senses the increased leptin, it sees that we have enough fat store and that we don't need to eat. This is how it's supposed to work. But if the brain becomes resistant to leptin, does not see the leptin in the blood, then this regulatory process won't work. If the brain doesn't see leptin, it won't know that the fat cells are full and there won't be any signal to tell the brain that it needs to stop eating. So what they have done studies, and in the future we'll cover weight loss. What they've done studies and realized is that the receptor in the brain has been overworked and stopped working. It's not receiving sensories anymore. So there might be leptin in the system, and it's telling the body, stop it, stop eating, you're full. And you know that feeling of being satisfied, satiated. You feel like, okay, I'm good now. Well, what you find is that a lot of time when a person is having diabetes or weight problem, is not that they don't have enough calories, is that their body can't sense it anymore. Their body just don't feel it anymore. They don't say, oh, I have enough calories, I have enough energy to go for the rest of the day. So the body is not sensing it anymore. So unless they're on a calorie restricted diet where they say, I'm only going to eat 2,000 or 2,500 calories a day, that's the only way it works. And this is why I believe in that type of diet. I believe that those diets work because it's just best for the person to eat what is needed. And that's it. But if the person has to wait for them to feel full, then you could just keep going and the body is saying, oh no, you're not full. What you need is more store because there's a rainy day coming. And then the person eaten for 365 rainy days stored on their body and they're still not full. Until the food run out, they don't stop eating. And guess what? I mean, if you live in a place where the food never run out, then you'll never stop eating. So the brain is not being told stop eating. So when a person gets to this, if you are listening to me and you're at this point, I'm going to tell you the main thing that you can do for yourself is simply start counting calories. I'm a believer of that because what it is, you cannot allow your brain to tell you. Your brain don't know anymore that you're full. And trust me on this, there's enough study done to tell me that this is true. And I've talked to enough people and counseled enough people that they tell me their brain does not know that they're full. So when your brain don't know that you're full, you just have to depend upon calorie counting. If you're a certain height, and never tell yourself you're a big bone, all right, unless you have a doctor to scan you and to confirm that you're a big bone. Don't believe you're a big bone. Just tell yourself that says, based upon your height and probably your age, what should be the amount of calories? And you calculate that, and then you eat that and no more based upon counting calories. There's a lot of apps. I even have a calorie counting app on my phone. I can't remember what it is. Next time I'll have to go find it. I don't use it. I just have it sometime when I'm doing these seminars. I can do a quick calculation. But because this seminar, sometimes I do it as a cooking seminar, where I'm cooking and I'm showing this is 2,000 calories. That's all you eat. Because if you go with your brain's going to tell you you're still hungry. And we're going to talk more about that towards when we go to the solution. So we're just still laying out some foundations here. So here's our first solution. So alternative approach to weight loss, right? So 3 main guidelines to reverse the course of diabetes. You eliminate animal products. Animal products are just what it is. You can leave the animals alone. It'll be fine. Because the animal is going to clog you up and you're going to get the diseases of the animal. You don't know what kind of disease the animal have. So just like you look at me, you wouldn't eat me, right? Because why? Because you don't know what kind of disease you're going to eat. And you might be very, very sorry. And if you think about, you take any of the population at any given time, 25% of the population have STDs. So if you're going to take animals, you don't know what 25% of them have. So you're going to end up eating some type of weird disease. Don't eat the animal, you start to have disease like the animal. But we're back to diabetes. So diabetes, you want to be able to not make it too easy for you to clog your system. So keep vegetable oils at minimum. So when you're going to use vegetable oils, you have to know that fat in, fat out. Fat does not break down to any amino acid or any basic component. If you eat fat, it's just fat. It's just, you call it lipid, you call it whatever you want to call it scientifically. It's just fat. So you have to just limit it. The moment you limit it, what will happen? You just immediately open up the cells, because now the gunk, you're removing the gunk or the gum that is blocking up the lock. You eat more foods with low glycemic index. So if the sweet, you want the sweet to be sweet and sticky, because what it is that as your body is digesting, when the food get into your intestine and then out the intestine into your small intestine and so forth, what is happening from your stomach to your intestine? What's happening there is that the food is going to start being assimilated. You want the food to assimilate as slow as possible. So you want to be able to eat food that is going to be, if you have sugar, it's very sticky. And I'm going to talk about sticky with other sticky sugar. I'm just saying sticky. I'll explain more in a second. All right. So, oh yeah, on the board there, I have this nice little chart. So notice beef bottom round, lean, as 37% of it is fat. So when you look at your plate, if you have a steak, yes, there's some stuff there, nutrient-wise. But primarily that steak, if you can imagine a steak on your plate, it's basically 37% fat. So you're not looking at 37% fat, right? You're looking at me, you imagine the plate, just look at the plate in front of you. Just look down. Don't look at me, just look at the plate. And you imagine the plate, right? And just imagine 37, if it's a plate is a pie, right? And imagine 37% of that pie of steak is just fat. But I know you're going to say, Lloyd, I see steak all the time. It's not 37% fat. It's 37% protein. Do your math on it. It's not 37% protein. It's fat. It's fat. And if you get steak that is marbled, because it's marbled so that it has the fat deposits all over it, so it's become more juicy and tender. It's not like stringy and hard muscle. That's even could be higher percentage fat. So you're looking at your plate and you're thinking, oh, I don't eat. Some people said that I don't eat a lot. Or I don't eat, no, you don't eat a lot, but you eat a lot of fat. So that's what you have to think about. It's because it's that gunk. And that gunk going to mess up the process. So your body won't say, no, stop eating. Because you finish eating that piece of steak. The body said, nah, you're still hungry. You need more food. And you're going to eat more food. This is going to be important to understand. Notice here, skinless white chicken meat. So no skin, so you don't have all this pesticide and stuff on it. But it's white, right? So you're thinking, oh, this is good, right? You know, white meat is better, right? But notice here, 23% fat. So you're looking at a piece of chicken and you say, what are you talking about? But remember, there's little lipids, little pieces that deposit of fats all over that chicken. And the modern day chicken, the modern day fowl don't get no exercise. That's right. If you're not getting exercise and you're getting fat, well, the chicken getting fat, right? So that means it's 85% of calories is in that chicken. So it's a lot of calories. And notice here again, lean pork loin is 41% fat. And is fat in representation to calories, which is 81%. Atlantic salmon, so this is better, right? It's just a little bit better than pork. You can imagine that? So you take that salmon, you're thinking, when it comes on to cholesterol, it's 71 mgs of cholesterol, and its percentage of calories is 40%. So you look at that, you'll be like, Lloyd, what are you talking? Salmon is the most healthiest thing. That thing swim for its life upstream. Navy bean is 4% as fat represented by percentage of calories. So the energy in it is 4%. You see the big drop? And zero cholesterol, obviously, because cholesterol come from animals. Broccoli is 11% as it come on to the percentage based upon calories of fat. And apple is 3%, and brown rice is 7%. So you could eat a lot of navy bean and brown rice, and when it comes on to fat as a representation of percentage, it is a very low fat. So you could actually feel full and be satisfied, but you're not loading up on the fat, which are going to clog and gum up the cells and cause the sugar to not get in because the insulin can't work. So some basic daily things that you need to do now. So some solutions for you. Hopefully that's enough. It's not, as I said, diabetes is not something hard to understand. It's just something hard to do, right? If you have any eating problem, you realize that the doing is the problem. So here's some solutions for you. Maintain hydration. Very important to keep hydrated, especially for your kidney and especially for your blood, because this is a blood issue we're talking about here also. So you want to be keeping your blood as flowing and not sticky. The plates are not sticky. If you look at even things with coronavirus, that's part of the problem. The blood becomes too thick and it makes it harder for the body to get oxygen into the blood. So if you're already in a normal day, have a hard time breathing and getting oxygen into your blood because your blood is so thick and viscous and not moving, imagine you have a disease that's causing inflammation in the pleurals and in the membrane of the lungs. Now you can have a double hard time getting oxygen in there. So keep it hydrated is very important for any disease. Every disease, water becomes your number one thing to do. Remove refined food from your diet. So you want to be able to remove refined food from your diet, and this will give you some of the nutrients you need. Notice here, whole foods for fiber. So you want to increase the amount of whole foods you eat and start getting used to eating everything whole, nothing refined or processed, or limit refining or process. What this will do, it will keep you flowing better, not only bowel wise, but you'll find that it'll make the food ingest slower. So remember I was saying when you eat food, if the food has too much refined food, it digests fast and it gets into your bloodstream fast and it spikes your blood sugar level with energy, which is what glucose is, the basic breakdown of the substances. So when you have whole foods, what it does is slow the digestion process and the ingestion, because this insoluble fiber, that means a fiber that will not be digested, it will be passed out as waste or as ash in your fecal matter. When that fiber is going through your intestinal tract, what it is on the wall, and it doesn't make anything that's going to be digested fly in or going too fast into your bloodstream. So it slow the ingestion of sugars, slow the ingestion of everything. So what you want to do is the more whole you put in the diet, is the slower it slows down the ingestion of food, so your blood sugar level don't spike. If my memory serves me correctly, it's about 120, 125, I think it is, somewhere there is the resting blood sugar level. If you eat, I think 2 hours after they test it, it should be somewhere in the region of 200 or something like that, if my memory serves me properly. So anyhow, if you eat food that is too refined, what it is, it will spike beyond that, and you can go way past 200 or something. So what you want to do is maintain the level of food that you have the proper amount of protein, because you need to have protein. At least if you eliminate all protein from your diet, then what happens? You're gonna have a blood sugar problem still. Talk about that in a second. So anyhow, so whole food that has fiber, because the fiber helps slow the ingestion of energy into your body. Then also for fiber, consider more tubers. So what you want to do is limit the amount of grains you're taking in, and start considering cassava, yuca, which is the same thing, batata, which is the Chinese or Japanese yam, more American yams, potato, anything that is a tuber, that is a starchy tuber. You can start to learn how to eat starchy tuber and to substitute out of your diet as much as possible grains. And the more you can do this, the more you'll find that those type of tubers, they're not going to go to your system fast. They go very slow, and they go make you thick. If you want to be thick, that's what you eat. All right. If you want to be thick, you just go online and look colloquially, type in colloquial meaning of thick. Or don't do it. So anyhow, for fiber, consider more tubers. 2 to 3 meals daily, right? So 2 to 3 meals daily is what you want to do. So in the system, in the American Dietary Association, because I want to be clear that we know a little something about this topic, right? They will suggest that you eat multiple meals per day, right? You don't want to eat multiple meals per day, like what they're saying. Also, if you're into exercise, bodybuilders, those people will try to eat 5, 6, 7 meals a day. This is total madness. It's not good. It's better to eat 2 or 3 big meals a day than to eat 5 meals a day or 6 or 7 meals a day. Why? You're overworking your liver, your kidney, your digestive tract. You're overworking your heart, and I'm thinking you're overworking your brain also. You start to become a little bit dumb. All right, so don't do that to yourself. So what you want to do, you want to eat 2 to 3 meals a day, depending also upon the length of day. If you're a person that get more than 8 hours sleep, you don't need to have more than 2 meals a day, right? You just, the time span is not there. The average meal should be about 5 hours gap between each meal. No snacking in between. Now we've said no snacking, nothing in between. So what you do that. Now what is it part of what I'm talking about with diabetes? Diabetes is a big time practice You have to practice. And in the practice, you have to practice regularity because there's circadian rhythms in the body. The regularity will retrain your body, and it takes time. In 16 years, you could drop your glucose, your insulin, the amount of insulin you use, or you could stabilize your blood sugar in 3 months, a month. Depends on how hard you are, how bad you are when it comes to your insulin or blood sugar problem. But in order for you to long-term get your body into a proper flow, you have to retrain your body as if you're training anything. You're training a dog, a flowers, a tree. You gotta retrain it. What are you doing? You're trying to say, okay, when do you eat breakfast? And you do anything to get yourself to eat breakfast at the same time. Because what is it? The body works off circadian rhythms. And when we are in a regular standard American diet, we just eat whatever, whenever. Anywhere in the world. Most people don't really understand these things. So when you sort of train your body, what you're doing here is you're going to train your body to eat. If you eat at 7 o'clock every morning, no matter what's going on in life, unless death is ensuing, you eat 7 o'clock in the morning. After a period of time of doing this, your body will say, oh, so at 7 o'clock in the morning, I need to digest food. And your body will go right in the head and digest food at 7 o'clock in the morning. Does that make sense? But until then, what it is, your body has to be retrained into that, and it's going to be a fight, because if you're used to snacking, you have to know that at 9 o'clock, you don't snack. At 10 o'clock, you don't snack, right? So you're retraining your body that it's not time for food. This is going to take some effort because your body's used to snacking. And there's many people who say they don't eat meals. What they do, they graze. So they eat like a cow. They constantly chewing. The jaw muscles are very strong. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to retrain your body. Only the time that I tell you to eat, that's when you eat. So you eat at 7, and then you eat at 12, and then you eat at 5. That's it. No other eating. And you train your body like that. And you eat. Now, 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day daily. Now, some people can, as I say, if you're going to go to bed at a reasonable time, they can eat probably 6 hours apart or something like that. And you can train your body and say, this is the time you eat, and the body will know when it's time to eat. And you start feeling, oh, it's time to eat. And you train your body, whatever time you settle on, which is best for you, that's the time you eat. And you don't bend that. You do everything not to bend it. Avoid snacking, as I says. So why? Because you don't want to tell the body, just eat whenever and digest whenever. The blood sugar need to be retrained when to receive it. So the insulin know this is the time to release insulin, and the sugars come in, and then it goes right into the cell. Avoid snacking if must. Have always some backup, almonds or banana. These are 2 of the things that I believe is good to have as a backup. Now again, why you have a backup? Because you could mess up and either eat too much and throw your system off, so that means it's taking longer for your body to process the food, or you eat too little and now you're hungry, your blood sugar drop. And you have to say, what am I going to do? And one of the things I say, as I say, you don't snack as a principle. But if you run into a problem, don't think about it too much. You can get a handful of almond or a banana, and it will take away the pain. And when the pain goes away, the body will break that down fast enough. A banana will take about 45 minutes to digest. So if you know that you need to eat at 11 and your blood sugar is going wrong and you consume a banana, it will take about 45 minutes. So you buy enough time to be able to eat at 12 again. So you can see, and then you feed the body at 12 again, and not so much break the cycle. So you don't snack as a principle, but if you must snack, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have something that you're not going to worry it spike your blood sugar, but it'll satisfy it with some sugar, with some energy, and it'll just make the body feel normalized. As you know, you could eat one handful of whatever, and you feel, oh, I feel good. If you have a blood sugar problem, you know what I'm talking about. So avoid snacking, and if you must, have a backup. If you have to be on the road, I'm just going to tell you, just get a pound of almond and travel with that. And when you start getting hungry, just say, don't snack on the almond now. This is only for backup, right? You only have this for emergency. Because remember, the aim is you're training the body to be able to work with the circadian rhythms. Remember, not everything in the body, you know it's there, but you don't see it. So you just have to say, I know it's there, I'm going to have to train my body. And as a principle, you tell yourself you'll never snack. So the almond is not there for you to chomp on while you're driving or you're on the road or the keeping your fanny pack or your purse. It's just there if you have an emergency. That's why I say a lot of this has to do with retraining the body over, of course, a few months. And you train the body how it should go. And when it's old, it will not depart from you, right? So, amen. Strict schedule on eating, as I say. Very strict. Because I don't know how to overemphasize this. This really work. All right. So notice here now I say next on the slide. Balance on plate of carb, starch, and protein and fat. Now, this is important because if you try to eliminate all your protein, you'll find that you'll have a hard time keeping the schedule. Because what it is, there's not enough work for the body to do, and you need to still give the body some work to digest. You need to break down something. And so you have to have something for the body. Basically, you go hungry, and when you go hungry, you'll be like, oh, I need some food. I'm starving. I'm famished. And then you go attack some restaurants and then make the news. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is feed yourself balance. So notice I say balance volume next. Not too much and not too small. So this is where I say I believe back in calorie counting. Now I know if you're a person that do 4,000 calories a day, but physically, stature-wise, your body only can handle 2,000 calories, so you're doubling. In order for you to bend that curve, you're going to have to start by backing off the food slowly. So you're going to have to say, okay, I'm going to calorie count myself down to 3,500. And I'm going to probably stay there. I'm not going to jump the gun because I know that's what happened with us when it comes to exercise and diet. We want to be able to get there immediately. You know, you start by, I'm going to go to 3,500 calories. And then probably stay there a whole month. And when you think you've mastered that, and don't fool yourself that say, I'm going to go cold turkey. Some people can do this. Most people fail. Cold turkey, anything. So what you do, you start with about 3,500. And after you think you've mastered it a month and you're doing the 3 meals a day, 3,500, then you go to 3,000. And you keep backing it up until you get to the point where you can get to 2,000. When you get there, you can maintain that for a month or so. Then you know, okay, I've won the battle, right? So, but on your plate, you have to imagine your plate again. And know that and what is the daily recommended dosage of fat, carb, protein, whatever. Don't go over, don't go under. And your aim for the next few months as you're with us through this quarter of health, your aim is, what are you trying to do? You're trying to not overeat or undereat. I'm going to tell you, if you undereat, you're going to whip yourself all the time. So you still have to, if you are over-caloried, you have to slow it down slowly. You can't do it fast. So all these young people from the research they did are able to get results with a blood sugar level within 16 days. You might not be able to do this because you're going to have a problem of the self-control might not be there. So balance the food on your plate so you have a decent amount of all these things. Make it whole, make it pretty, and you eat that. And then not too much and not too small. Never do that. If you overeat, it's going to take too long for your body to digest the food, and it's not going to leave your stomach. When it finally leaves your stomach, it's going to be putrefied, and you're going to smell it when it comes out worse than you probably will ever. If you do too little, you're going to go too hungry too fast, and if you go too hungry too fast, what's going to happen is that you're going to be ravenously always eating meat. You're not going to be able to maintain a schedule. So keep that in mind. Manage stress and exercise. All right, so one of the ways to deal with this that they have to do is always put a person on stress management. Why stress management? I stopped for the class to answer the question. Why stress management is important. Class, no, well, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. Because we're going to do a question and answer when it's finished. So think about that. Why stress management? I'll make you think about it, right? You know, a lot of people will eat more food when they're stressed out, right? So here we are. Somebody could be like, I'm having a problem with diabetes or with weight. And that's not a problem. The problem is they're stressed out. And when they're stressed out, they go for the food. So this is where stress management technique is important. Because when you deal with stress, then and you find other means of dealing with stress and other coping mechanism, then you don't use food as the coping mechanism. Hopefully that makes sense. You don't want food to be a coping mechanism. You want something else to be a coping mechanism. And I'm not saying that you need to get a punching bag, but if you must do it, go ahead and do something else. Just don't break your wrist and then tell me that I'm the cause of it. But find other stress management process. So when you're stressed out, find something to do other than food. And when you do this, what will happen is that you'll start to control have that control. Because remember, it's about temperance, right? It's about having that self-control. Exercise, it's been shown clearly that when you exercise on a regular basis, especially whatever your largest meal, especially if you came midday after you eat, go even for a 5-10 minute walk. A 10-minute walk after you eat will do amazing things for your digestive tract, because what it is, you get your blood flowing. And the more your blood flow is the more that you'll be able to manage your blood sugar level. So you want your blood to be flowing, and you want the body to say, oh, you just eat and it's going to burn some of the calories. Right? So you just burn some calories. Even a 10-minute walk will do you amazing. And so these are some of the basic daily steps. Exercise, manage the food on your plate. We're getting there. Notice this now, because we're going to talk about some quick nutrients. I'm not going to do an exhaustive list. I'm going to do 3 herbs and 2 nutrients that is needed. So what is removed from wheat? This is a very good example I put here from this book about diabetes, 30-day diabetes program that I have. And notice here you find what is pulled from wheat. So wheat is, as you know, is processed to make it white flour. And what they do, they put in 7 nutrients in it: niacin, riboflavin, thiamine, whatever the other 4, can't remember, back in it to make it food. Because if they didn't put it in it legally, wheat flour, white flour would not be classified as food. Right? I want you to keep that in mind, because food, part of what a food is supposed to have nutrients. So they strip out almost all the nutrients in it. So here's what they strip out on the board right here now: 100% of all the phytonutrients. So phytochemicals that they don't know what it does, it's stripped out of wheat flour. Just gone, disappear from it. So that's a robbery, right? 98% of the vitamin E, because all the vitamin E is on the brand, it's on the outside of the wheat. So they strip that out, 98%, 2% is left back. So they give you 2%. 78% of the fiber is gone from wheat, gone. So again, you're eating wheat, you're eating paste. Have you ever made things like papier mâché and stuff like that? Paper mâché, you're taking wheat flour, the white stuff, and you can make glue with it. So you take all that glue in your stomach, and that glue become glue in your digestive tract, and glue you up, and you become constipated. Right? So you're eating glue. So you take the glue from cheese, and you take the glue from flour, and you make what they call pizza, and then you eat that pizza, and then you have glue in your stomach, and you're saying, what's wrong with me? Why can't I break down this glue? This glue is gunging me up. And then you go on the toilet, and then you're screaming for dear life, as if you're trying to have a child. So you can understand what is causing that, because you're glued up. All right, so you have to unglue by getting rid of that junk. So 70% of vitamin B6, more on B6 in a second. 72% of chromium, and I made a mistake there. That pyridoxine, I was supposed to type it next to the vitamin B6. So make a mental correction for me. I wasn't paying attention when I typed. I was supposed to put 70. B6 is pyridoxine, because I'm going to talk a little bit about B6 at the end. You can see on the board already, I gave it away. So chromium is another important nutrient. Now, this is important for our discussion. Chromium is another nutrient that is taken out. 72% of it is gone from wheat. So imagine if you're living somewhere like where I grew up, where every day you get up and eat wheat, and you think you're eating good things, but you're missing chromium. And guess what happens? You're going to develop diabetes. And guess what of the nutrients is important for diabetes? Chromium. That's just robbery. So this is why if you hear someone like myself say you need to supplement, people say, why I need to supplement? I eat every day. I eat a standard American diet, or I eat a standard Jamaican diet, or a standard wherever diet you're from. But you're eating so much food that is robbed of nutrients that years, 2 decades, 3, 4 decades of eating this type of food, your body's dying slowly because you're lacking nutrients. Now you come to me now and you say, Lord, you're into health. What should I do to overcome diabetes? I must say you have to supplement. And I say, why? Because you can't get how long you've lived, you've been eating deficient. So you're missing out on nutrients, you're dying slowly. And I'm telling you that now, in order for you to get back, you have to start supplement, and you have to wait it out. Because you have to slowly build back all these supplements that you've been robbed all these years. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm going to tell you that. You can get some good results, but they're going to be temporary, because certainly the body going to say, I'm still deficient. So chromium is missing. Magnesium is missing. So how much of us are deficient in magnesium? You'll be surprised that most people are deficient in magnesium. Most people are deficient in magnesium. And what's going on there? Because you've been eating all that food that is deficient in magnesium, so it makes you deficient in magnesium. You're not being fed. Zinc. This is one of the number one ingredients or number one nutrients to deal with coronavirus, because zinc is important so that the virus does not replicate, and it's important to protect our lungs. Well, guess what happened? Most people are deficient in zinc. Well, this is what's supposed to get from all the wheat flour. All that pizza, that glue, is missing zinc. Then also folic acid is good for cell replication and cell health, gone from white flour. And we get up every day and that's all we eating. So this year I take from that book right there, 30-Day Diabetic Miracle. Notice here, vitamin B6 is one of the B vitamins that benefits the central nervous system. It is involved in the production of neurotransmitter serotonin and norepinephrine, sorry. It helps reduce blood sugar levels, right? So here you have a person, they're dying because they need vitamin B6, but they eat a lot of wheat, and we should give them vitamin B6, but they're deficient and they can't understand why they're deficient. And then I come to them, or somebody's come to them, and they say, you need to supplement, you need to get some nutrients going. And they say, why? I eat all the time. And I eat what the government recommend. I'm like, yeah, you eat what the government recommend, but the government not telling you that, says you're deficient because your diet is deficient. Our diets are deficient because we're eating food for years, decades and decades. That is deficient. So what you need is a whole diet. So our first thing here is chromium. Chromium is a supplement that may enhance the effect of insulin and support the activity of pancreatic cell that produce insulin. In a review of 25 studies, chromium supplements reduce the A1C by about 0.6. So remember, glucophage, which is important now, so we're wrapping it up here. Glucophage will, if take it, will reduce, will give you a result of 0.6, right? Improvement of your blood tests when it comes on to testing for your gluten sensitivity and all that. Gluten sensitivity, your glucose sensitivity. Glucophage will do this, but chromium will do similar numbers, right? About 0.6% in people with type 2 diabetes, and an average decrease of fasting blood sugar with around 21 mg/dl compared to placebo. So here you can do as good with chromium as what it is. Well, where we just learned that the chromium is stripped out by 72% out of wheat. So the wheat, the question many people is wondering, is it that everybody has wheat allergies, or they just develop an allergy to wheat because they eat so much of that white stuff and the body was just being damaged by the white stuff? And if they would just have whole wheat, they would have done better. And many of us wouldn't be in the problem we're in. So I want you to think about that. 0.6. So as good they have done studies, 25 studies. So we're not talking about some people say, oh, there's no proof of this. 25 various different studies, as they looked at these various different studies, they realized that just taking chromium supplement, your body will act as if it's taking a drug. All right? A small amount of evidence suggests that chromium may also help lower blood sugar in people with type 1 diabetes. So when you keep that in mind, they're looking at studies, and what they're coming up with is they're looking at it and say, it seems like if you take even chromium, somebody that have type 1, which if I asked you 10 years ago, is there any nutritional herbal benefit, anything you can take naturally that to help type 1 diabetes? I remember people saying no. Now they're looking at it and say, actually, yeah. You know how I look at it? And this is my principle, and I can say it because I've seen enough evidence to prove it's true. That if the organ is still in you and it didn't rotten and drop out of you, it's still alive, then probably you should try to help to resuscitate the half-dead organ. Amen. Amen? Amen. Amen. Just keep fighting, right? And just pray. Pray for the supplements and the herbs. Vitamin D may improve the function of pancreatic cells that make insulin and increase your body's response to insulin, right? So they're looking at various different studies, and they're showing more and more that vitamin D will help. Well, let me ask you this. What population of America is very deficient in vitamin D? Black people. What part of the population of America needs vitamin D to fight coronavirus? Black people again. What part of America live in north that if they did not mutate to live in north, put it that way? It's black people. So what end up happening, the further you are from the sun, because we are developed in the sunlight, is the more body don't produce vitamin D. Well, vitamin D, as you show, deals with the lung to protect it from coronavirus and other type of RNA viruses. So high vitamin D level will help with digestion. High vitamin D level will help with also your insulin problem, and it help to protect you from various different bugs that float around in the winter time. Because we didn't develop in the winter. That's just the reality. We weren't developed this far north. We're more south, being burnt alive in the sun in Africa. So this is what it is. We're roasted. So this is what it is. So again, zinc again would be a very important nutrient for. So notice these nutrients, they have the same role over and over again. Zinc will be important for the lung. Before I get the fenugreek in a second here, almost there. Just stick with me. Notice zinc is stripped out of wheat also. So these nutrients are key when it comes onto the immune system, but it's key when it comes on to fighting these type of viruses. And it just so happened that the people who suffer the most from these viruses are people who have a very deficient diet. So they're older and they have all these other problems like diabetes, coronary artery problems. And the same nutrients going to help the ward of coronavirus and other virus. Oh, sorry, going a little bit too far. So almost there. Fenugreek. And note here, there's other nutrients that you need. I'm just covering 2 nutrients and 3 herbs. There's other herbs that can be used. These are the herbs that I use personally in my formulas. So that's why I talk about these 3 herbs. Fenugreek may help to lower blood sugar. According to preliminary studies, and one study found fenugreek extract to significantly improve some measures of blood sugar control and insulin response in people with type 2 diabetes. So this is something I believe in using, and I suggest for people who are taking it or I'm counseling with. Gymnamia sylvestre, hopefully I pronounced that right. The Hindu name for the plant is gumar, means sugar destroyer. Gymnamia sylvestre may reduce sugar absorption in the gut and promote cell uptake of sugar from the blood. So you want this. This is to me one of the number 1 herbs. This is the number 1 herb in my mind to take for blood sugar problem. Make sense to you? Due to the impact on type 1 diabetes, it's suspected that, listen to this now, type 1 again. Notice I'm saying chromium for type 1, and I want to make sure I'm saying that right. For type 1 diabetes, chromium as a nutrient. For type 1 diabetes, because people, as I say, I remember years back, they would say, no hope for you naturally for type 1 diabetes. Well, we're still praying and we're still studying and we still try to find. Amen? So due to the impact on type 1 diabetes, it's suspected that Gymnamia sylvestre may somehow aid insulin production cells in your pancreas. Remember, this pancreas was attacked and destroyed, but it's still in your body. You remember I would tell you before, it probably sound crazy to you. And probably if a doctor hear me, they'll say, no, this guy's crazy, I'm out of here. But remember, they're looking at studies and say, if the part is there, you probably can resuscitate it. Remember, Jesus can bring things to life. Amen. And I believe his herbs can bring it back to life. It can not only heal the sick, but he can raise the dead. Do you know what I'm talking about, Brother Green? I know what you know what I'm talking about. So anyhow, somehow aids insulin and producing cells in the pancreas. So notice here, bitter melon has been shown. Bitter melon is another herb. Have you ever had bitter melon? I tried bitter melon once, not as a supplement, because I use it as a supplement for blood sugar problem. But it's in a capsule. I tried to eat bitter melon. I went to the Indian supermarket in Parsippany. And they always sell it there, and I'm always looked at it but never bought it. So one day, something got into me. I said, this thing is great for blood sugar, to control the blood sugar. So I said, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to cook it. So I chop it up and I saute it, I season it with some Indian herbs, and then I taste it and then throw it in the garbage. That thing is so bitter that it blow anything that's bitter out of the water. It is amazing how bitter it is. I think if you say sweet and bitter, and if bitter is the solution for sweet, bitter melon is your solution. If you can eat it, because Indians eat it, and I guess they probably brought up on it, so they're used to it. It thing is amazingly bitter. It is impressive. I think it's medicine. They should just classify it as a medicine and put it in the PIC system. That's what you call it, where you have to have special orders from a doctor to get it out of there, because it is medicinal at the extreme level. It has to cure, diabetes. I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying should for that level of bitterness. It's amazing. So anyhow, back to what I'm talking about. So bitter melon has been shown to enhance the uptake of glucose. Remember, that's the problem we're having. The cell is there, the sugar is there, and the insulin cannot get the sugar into the cell. The cell is starving, so the cell of brain, feed me. So you eat more food, you get more fat, and then you get more clogged. And it's a circular firing squad, and you're just basically killing yourself. So now you need a help. So here we go. It also increased glycogen synthesis inside the cell and the tissue. So again, and it increased insulin sensitivity. So it make now the cells become more sensitive to the key that's trying to open the cell to get the glucose in. Does that make sense? So it increased cell sensitivity. So what did we just do here, right? What did we just do here? We just gave you your solution for donuts. What we just do here, I'm going to summarize here for you before I answer any questions you have. And hopefully you have a few questions here for me this time, because you want to ask me some questions for yourself and for your friends, people you love. What we're doing here is we're taking the self-control that is needed to be able to eat 2 to 3 meals a day, not to snack, the practice of exercise and all that. And all of this has been shown clinically that when you exercise, you limit your meal, and you limit your calories, and you remove the sugar, remove the fat, reduce the sugar, remove the fat, and reduce the fat. What it is, the cell will open up so that the insulin can be more productive. But we don't stop there. We take another step towards this. What we do, we find, and I just gave you probably 2 of the probably 6 or 7, probably 6 main nutrients that is deficient in somebody with diabetes. What we do, we add the supplementation to it, natural or anywhere we can find it. I always prefer natural, but you do what you have to do. So we add that to it. So now you're going to get the bump that you need from, say, the chromium. So imagine if you go on a plant-based diet, you cut out the fat, the cholesterol primarily, and you reduce the fat, and you get a 1.6 bump. Then you take the chromium and you get another 0.6 bump. Just talking about the information that we quoted here. Then you add to that now other nutrients that's going to help your body become more responsive to the function of glucose and sugar and cell. Then you don't stop there. You take some herbs. I gave you 3, but there's more herbs. There's probably easily 5 to 6 or 7 top herbs that people use and get result from. And so start getting some result from that. And you bump your level up again, your success level up. What you're doing, you put yourself in a better position to be permanently off or to reduce the amount of insulin. As you reduce that insulin, what's happening to you is that you're going to improve in health. And that now going to become the reverse of a circular firing squad. Because now what it is, you're retraining your body's going to be more sensitive to when you're hungry, when you're full. Because now the body's going to start to respond the way it's supposed to respond. I have this information to share because I want to really get through to you this important idea of what's happening to our diet in a modern world. And I'm pulling this from this book, Diabetes Without Drugs. And it's written by, I think I'll quote him later, Susan Cohan, if you want to go buy a book and read. It's just 5-step to program to control diabetes. And it's just something simple. It's a list I want to show you. Remember I talk about the list of things that are stripped out of your diet, right? Because look at that donut. White flour and white sugar. Amazing. You're going to die. Tastes good though, but you will die, right? So that's all stripped out of nutrients. Now, first thing on the sugar side, right? Notice here, this is what's stripped out of sugar cane. Sugar cane, when it's made into white flour, they stripped out 99% of magnesium. What do you think about that? So you look at that donut and you say, that thing there look awesome. It does. Glazed. But 99% of the sugars, that white sugar, that whatever powder thing, is 99% stripped of magnesium. So where's that magnesium gone? In the molasses. Or some of it is still in the brown sugar. Or it's in the sugarcane juice so you can get it fresh. When you're in Florida, get it fresh. All right? It's stripped 98% of the zinc is gone. So if I come to you and say, man, you need to get zinc. Somebody say, zinc is in sugarcane. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the sugarcane, but it's not in the white sugar. It's all stripped out, gone. Chromium, 93%. No, again, chromium. Remember, magnesium is important for diabetes. Zinc is important for diabetes. Chromium is important as diabetes. Manganese, stripped out 93%. Cobalt, 88%. And copper, 83%. Does your body need all these nutrients? Your body has been dying for years. You know what your body needs? These nutrients. And yet you've been eating sugarcane of all of this, but you're just eating an extract of the sugarcane, which is that white part. You need to get the rest of it back in your diet. And that's where you take like molasses and you use brown sugar, because the brown sugar has it stripped out, but not to the level that is stripped out in white sugar. So you get that again, magnesium, zinc, chromium, manganese, cobalt, copper, all stripped out of that white stuff. Very important for you to notice. So you're eating it as glazed and it's all that glazed goodness. But you do that for 2 decades, 3 decades, you will develop diabetes because you're just deficient. So is it diabetes the person have? Is it that they have an eating disorder or they have a nutrient disorder? I often struggle with this and I really am leaning more and more, and I believe, I should say, but I can't tell you I have empirical, all the evidence are not in. But what all the evidence is pointing to me is that many of what we call disease is not disease, it's malnutrition. Look back again now. I'm going to go back over the list of wheat milling. What did they mill out of the wheat? Again, manganese, which was not under the list, so I wanted to read it to you. It's 88% of manganese. Chromium, as we say here, is stripped out. Magnesium, 80%. So that donut, if it was made with whole wheat and with brown sugar, you get some of those nutrients. You do not get it when you eat it like that. Sodium, 78%. So your salts are going to be stripped out. And you do this for many years. I believe there's so many things I've dealt with in the past, personally, health-wise. I believe it's that years and years I eating like that. And what did it put me at a disadvantage? I know my body is severely deficient. So now I go and I start eating healthy. And my body like, oh man, when were you going to feed me? Because we were stripping out. Iron is stripped out of wheat. 76%. So somebody's wheat think about why do people drink molasses? Why? What's the reason people drink molasses? For iron deficiency. But yet iron deficiency is not caused by, if you eat wheat, you will get iron stripped out. Phosphorus, zinc again, 72%. Very important to fight coronavirus and very important for dealing with diabetes. Phosphorus, 71%. Copper again, as we note, 63%. Calcium, 60%. So how many people drink your milk to get calcium? No, eat your wheat, whole wheat. And molybdenum, 60%, and cobalt, 50%, or something along that. So when you think about that, right? So what we need to do, as I say, and then we'll take questions. You start to practice temperance, self-control when it comes on to eating. And you get benefits, but you don't want to stop there. You want to basically push the system further than any drug can do for you. You do some exercise, you start to practice your circadian rhythms when it comes on to eating, when you eat, what time of day. You make sure you don't overeat. You make the food have all the basic portions in the food when it comes on to protein, carbs, fat, and whatever the other thing is. Then you want to do your herbs and your supplement, and you'll get good success. You get long-term success. You get amazing success. You're going to have to do for yourself what no man can do for you. God can have your best interest in heart, even bring you here to hear me, but you're going to have to do for yourself. So I'll take some questions before we pray and close. Any questions online? So you can type your questions on the church website, on YouTube, on Facebook, and we'll take it. Or you could just text the church there. Oh, it's just right there. It's in the side of my bag. I didn't take it out from morning. So notice there, you get it, because remember, if you exercise, you'll get result. If you start eat 3 meals a day, and I know somebody gonna say, hey, but my doctor say I must eat like a cow, just graze. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, you can blame me for it. You need to eat 2 to 3 meals a day. You'll get better results. If you go ahead and you make sure that you don't overeat or undereat, and you start counting calories, you'll find you get much better results because you can control it. You know, like I take supplements, right? And I prefer to take my supplements measured because I don't know what volume is working for me unless I measure it. So I do things by measurement. It works better that way because then there's no guess. That's why we have clocks and we have scales and cups and spoons and all these things because measurement really works. So if somebody say I want to lose weight, you're joking if you're not measuring stuff. Everything has to be measured out. You have to take the time to measure stuff because you're not going to know if what's working and when it's working or how it's working. So anytime the question comes, I'm just going to keep talking. So if you notice here, with diabetes, you do that. Then you take your supplement, find what the supplements you need because you could take something like chromium and it doesn't do anything for you because you're not deficient in it. You could take zinc and it's just not doing anything for you, not deficient in it. You got to know what you're deficient in. You have to go test some stuff. You can only do for yourself and observe your body, and that's only you can do this because you could take one supplement and you feel bad. You feel just like rotten inside because you're not deficient or it just doesn't work for your body. But you find out what you're deficient in taking. Most people are deficient in trace minerals because these things are stripped out of the white stuff that we eat. So you go to a whole diet and then now you start to exercise, you start putting the nutrients in, you start taking some herbs. When you take herbs, you take it as a daily supplement. This is a supplement. You take it on a daily basis. And what will happen now, you will get the nutrients you need and then you'll see your body will do phenomenal. You'll be amazed at what natural remedies can do for you. Amazed. Yes, please.
First question from Brother Ernesto. I know you said something about not snacking. What about snacking on salads like tomatoes and cucumbers and celery all the time? Is that healthy?
It's not healthy for the digestive tract to always be digesting. The digestive tract what could happen? Could cause putrefaction. If you're constantly snacking, like eating, things that are going to digest fast, the problem, especially with vegetables could take as long as 2 hours to digest. So you have to look at the digestive time of a vegetable, right? So you have to know that it could take a while for the vegetable digest. And our digestive go is that when you stimulate it again, it will start the process. And so that could keep the previous meal you have in your system still working. It's almost like if you're washing your clothes and you stop the washing machine and open it. That really don't work. You have to make the cycle finish. Then you start back over again or whatever. So you don't stop mid-cycle. So digestion is the same thing. It can't have half the food in your system digest and the other half not digested. So the only time snacking becomes a reality is when you're hungry. So that means you ate at 6, but say you had some soup. Soup is notorious for making you go hungry. So you had some soup, and now it's 4 hours later, it's 10 o'clock, and you weren't planning to eat until 11 o'clock, and you're famished, but you're not really ready to eat. That's when like a banana will come in or something to just hold you over, but it's holding you over on an empty stomach, and a banana will digest in about 45 minutes. An orange will digest in about 30 minutes or so, depending on how powerful your digestive tract is. So after 45 minutes, your stomach will still be empty again, and then you can put on that 11 o'clock meal on an empty stomach. The aim is to not introduce food into your stomach mid-cycle because that will elongate or extend the digestive process. So you can have food half digested and have food half digested and then new food digesting. Now that process takes longer, now you're going to get putrefaction. What you want is the stomach to empty. And then only time you, it's not really snacking, you'd have something that will digest faster than the next meal will be eaten. And when you take that in your stomach now, it's an empty stomach. So you're waiting for the stomach to empty itself out and to finish the process. As I say, the best way to explain it is with a washing machine. You will never stop a washing machine mid-cycle. You will make sure it runs through the cycle, and then when it's finished, then you take that stuff out, put it in the dryer, and put it in a fresh set of clothes. And even if there's a way for you to slip into the washing machine some food mid-cycle, well, it wouldn't be washed properly, wouldn't it? Because you wouldn't get to soak, you wouldn't get to go through the cycle. So you get out the clothes and they still smell frowsy, right? So you want to be able to start only if your stomach is emptied out. Like you drink soup is the best example to me. You drink some soup, it's empty. Now you have an empty stomach, then you add something new on there, but you know that thing's going to digest, like an apple a day. We'll keep the doctor away, we'll digest it about 30 minutes or 45 minutes the most. So then by the time you need to eat the next, within the hour, you're hungry again. And then now you feed yourself, please. Next question, please.
This question's coming from Facebook, and it says, or it reads, what about drinking natural juices in between meals? Is that good, or is juice considered a meal?
So juice is not a meal, but juice will digest in a certain amount of time. But I always say you have to look at juice similar to like water, to wait an hour or 2 hours before you start to ingest fluid. Because when you ingest fluid, what the fluid is doing is basically diluting the gastric juices. And even natural juice, think about it, it's not best to drink juice when it's cooked. So when we say natural juice, there's always the advice naturally to only drink juices that are not cooked. And if you're going to drink cooked fruits, because juices are normally made from fruit. Fruits, when they're cooked, they become very acidic. When they're natural, they're alkaline. Fruit is not made to be cooked. Even though somebody said, but I love my apple pie. But how many people going to eat apple pie of acid reflux? So anyhow, they just recall Zantac or one of those antacids. So if you're going to drink natural juice now, we're just sticking to natural juice, cooked or uncooked. It's better to eat it when the process is far gone. So like 3 hours after or something like that, so it does not upset your digestive tract. But I know people drink cooked fruit juice and will have acid reflux. It will go into their stomach and all of a sudden they start burping up and the acid is flying right back up their throat, right? Because number one, we're made to eat fruit fresh. Vegetables often need to be steamed or cooked because the cell walls need to be broken up. We were not originally made to eat vegetables. Our primary food was supposed to be fruits and fresh fruits. So if you're talking about fresh fruits, again, it's not a meal in my understanding because it will go through the system real fast. But it's best to drink fruit juice or so at the end of the digestive process, similar to what the question was answering earlier, when the body's already dealt with the food. You don't want to upset the digestive tract, and you just want to give it something fresh to kind of wash it down, right? But not while you're eating and all that. Sorry.
This question's coming from text. What is the best number of hours to space between each meal?
So 5 hours is the best number of hours. Take about 4 hours to break down a meal that is a normal plant-based meal. It could take longer if you're eating pork. It could take up to 72 hours for pork to get out of the system. So that's from eating the pork until defecation, 72 hours. With a normal meal, it could take about 24 hours or less. That means all the way down through the toilet, the waste. So depends on the constitution of the meal, 5 hours is a good space of time. You could go longer, about 5 hours.
So for a vegetarian meal?
About 4 hours it'll digest, and the last hour is just processing out of the system. And you can test that on your own, you'll see. And that's a very important thing. Although we're not talking about digestion here, but this is a good segue to just mention here that the way to test your digestive system, because yours is not mine, so everybody has a different rate, is to take charcoal powder, like a tablespoon or a teaspoon, about a tablespoon of charcoal powder. And with nothing else, you could do it with some flaxseed, probably a tablespoon of flaxseed, tablespoon of flaxseed meal and charcoal. And you eat that and drink it down, and then watch to see how long you pass black. When you pass black, you time it. And when your feces is black with the charcoal, then you know the rate of digestion. Your rate of digestion should be somewhere around 24 hours. A little bit less or a little bit more, but somewhere there. So why is that important? Because if your digestion is slower, then you have to figure out how long it takes before your stomach is empty. So your stomach could be empty in what could be 4 hours for a meal for me, or 5. Fast metabolic rate could be 6 hours, even 7 for you. So probably you can't do more than two meals a day if you want to stay healthy. The way to find it out, as I say, the quick way, without going and getting like they do a sleep thing on you and scan you, is basically to eat charcoal or corn. Try to eat sweet corn and not chew it much. Just eat it whole as much as possible. And what it is, when you pass, you'll see the corn in your stool. And all that corn, because corn is very difficult to break down if you don't chew it properly. And so if you take in all that corn, and when you pass, you see the corn whole come out. And when it comes out, you say, okay, you time it. Don't do a stopwatch. Just know when you eat it, and then mark when you time it. So you will know if it's 24 hours, you know you're close to normal. If it start go longer, then you know your digestion is slow, it's sluggish. Then you know 5 hours won't work for you. You probably have to go to 6 hours, even probably 7. But you will know when the food empty your stomach, right? So when you figure that out, you say, okay, that's my time. So my time is not your time, so it's hard to tell you. But 5 is about a good time for a vegetarian meal. And if you do this, then your body will free itself, and then you eat the next meal, and you stick to that time because that's your rhythm. Now, as you're free up the system, and the system is under pressure, it will start to come back to normal, and then 5 probably become normal. But it take a little while, please.
Another question from YouTube. Should regulating my meal times be the first order of business if I am diabetic? And if not, what should be the first order of business?
So your first order of business is to start with fiber and start to get your plate in order. So that would be to me the first order of business. You know the regulation. Let's put it this way: everything should be your first order of business, right? So you everything on the table. I always believe, right? Whatever you can do, do it. So snacking could be a big problem because the snacking, when you use the snacking, it's hard to break it. But it's I think that's one of the first order of business. The other part of the business is to try to make sure the plate is according to your stature. So that means if it's 2,000 calories and you're eating 3,000, you need to try to cut back to probably 2,500. But then in the meantime, taking some herbs and taking some supplements to help you is another first order business. So I think everything should be on the table. You fire with all cylinders, because everything's going to work. Because remember, you have diabetes is a problem that can affect your eyes, affect your circulation, affect your kidney. It causes you to have circulation problem and all that because you're being clogged up. You have too much fat, all of that. So what's your first order of business? You eat. If it's warm enough, you can take it, go for a walk, go walk for a treadmill. If you can do that. If you didn't do that, you take some herbs. Then you take some supplements. You order your plate. You just do whatever you can, because what it is, you do all these little pieces and it will start to help you. All of them are important. I don't know if, I'm going to think about it. Let me ask the next question and then I'm going to think about it.
So what you're saying is, instead of just doing one thing at
Absolutely
a time,
not.
you want to try to incorporate everything as quickly as possible.
Yes. So when we talk about diabetes, I say it is not some diseases are more complicated than diabetes. But diabetes is probably one of the most expensive insurance disease. So it's very costly to the person and to maintain health of the person. But diabetes is something that you have to deal with multiple different practices. And this is where it's a difficult disease, I think, to deal with, because it is not just taking some supplements that we fix. And I probably guess most diseases are like that. But it's not like, oh, I want to drop my cholesterol, so I just cut cholesterol. You got to do that also. You got to cut cholesterol. You got to, what the supplement's doing is it's boosting you so that it helps you out. It's like a hand behind you pushing you. But then you exercise, because what exercise is going to go make the blood start flowing, right? Well, if you're going to have heart problems, don't make it flow too much, but start it flowing, right? So what you're doing is you're doing multiple things at the same time, because the disease is affecting your circulation. So that's where now probably you need to start doing some turmeric and ginger and cayenne as part of your circulation problem. The disease is affecting your eyes. So what you're going to have to start doing, start increasing your water, because now you need the blood to start flowing, but it's affecting your kidney because, again, anything to do with the renal is going to affect. So you want to drink some more water and start flushing out your kidney. So I said all of that because I'm saying it's best to do all of it. Because what it is that, say you mess up on one part, at least you have the other part working. It's like having a person who, they're one-sided in their life. If something goes wrong on that one side, they're done. So you do multiple things and you get multiple results. And as you get multiple results, you start to do more. As I'm saying, 30 days, you can get phenomenal results from everything I say if you attack it in 30 days with all the things. And I'm not asking, I'm telling you, your body responds remarkable. When they say a habit just take about 2 weeks, you'll get remarkable results. You just have to attack it on multiple fronts. and it's something you're not doing good, so you're messed up today, you're messed up tomorrow. Kind of doesn't matter because you're doing the exercise, you're doing the supplementation, you're trying to eat the food. So you do all of the things.
I have one more question from YouTube. Does fasting regularly per week help with diabetes?
That's a difficult question. When you have a blood sugar problem, fasting is problem. If you can do that, that's something you'd almost have to ask yourself personally. When you have in your blood sugar drop, when you have diabetes, it can drop you right in your bed. It just wipes you out. So fasting, it's gonna be more difficult to me to not snack and to eat the proper volume and the proper setup. It's a harder discipline to me than skipping a meal or two or three, because you could skip a meal or two or three and your blood sugar plummet. I know you create problem, or your blood sugar start to get out of control. It is a bigger discipline to me to get up every day and be in a permanent fast, that I'm going to eat breakfast, I'm going to eat lunch, and I stop. Or I eat breakfast, eat lunch, and I eat dinner. I would even prefer a person to eat 3 small meals or decent sized meal a day than eat 2 or 1 or fast. Because the fear is that the problem is more a scheduling problem, a religious problem. It's doing it the same thing over and over again, and you get results over 3 months or a month, than if you eat today in the morning and then tomorrow you fast and your body say, oh, I need to eat, and then the next day you're like, oh man, I messed up. So by practice, me personally, I find it's better for me to not eat small meals and not eat large meals. It's better for me to eat the same volume of meal and at the same time every day. And what I find is that my body loves it so. Your body will love it so. So my advice is don't unless you personally get benefit from it and you experience that in your body. But most people, the problem is remember the American Diabetic Association or Diabetic Association, they're telling you to eat all 6 meals a day, 5 meals a day, whatever. So I would be more lean to the other side. I'd say, give me a month, take what I do, watch the seminar again, take everything I just said, and give me a month where you say, Lord, for 1 month straight, I stop snacking. I eat 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day, depends on your sluggishness of your bowels. You do the exercise every day. Once a day, go over 15 minutes. You take the supplements, you take the herbs, and you do all of that, and then tell me what happened in a month. And I tell you that it's probably better than if you fast once a week. If you find that fasting 1 week help, you do it. But I find that with fasting, I used to do juice fast for 14 days. Juice fast, just juice and herbs and stuff. And I tried the last time I tried in the winter, and I said I'll never do that again because my blood sugar just plummet. And I'm not diabetic, so I can't imagine when somebody diabetic. Because what it is, there was not enough fiber. I was taking fiber supplement. It's just not enough fiber, not enough energy. So my body was just craving for energy. I don't have the fat stores. So you got to know your body. For me, that would not work because I don't have the fat stores. If you have the fat stores and you feel like your body will eat the fat, well, go ahead and eat the fat once a week. Your body will eat it, but just be careful. Don't say I said. You are going to have to practice that. I don't know how that will work. That don't sound like it will work to me. I prefer the fast that Daniel was on, the regularity. Remember when Daniel finished his fast, eating a plant-based diet, and he came out fatter and fairer than those around. So the fast can be eaten. It's just a fast of regularity. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. A regular fast is better than, I don't believe in crash diets. I believe in consistent diet. It's better to eat 2,000 calories every day, or even 500 more than you need, but you eat that consistently, than you eat 1,000 calories one day and then you're so hungry the next day that you eat 5,000 calories. I don't believe in that. Please.
No, that's it.
Okay, so if that's it, then I want to thank you for stopping by here with us again. As I say, I'm looking forward to next Sabbath when we're going to do Sabbath school, midday service on health again. We're doing another health topic. And then in the evening at 5, we're going to be in the natural remedies. We're going to be specifically talking about what to do to treat coronavirus, the specific my idea of what is it that I would do and I would advise anybody to do. I'm going to talk about this. We're going to do some health display tomorrow, next week Saturday at 5 o'clock. So when you join us back here, as I say, this is posted on Facebook and YouTube, so you not only can watch it again, to take down notes, to share it with a friend, but also, that you can basically have something in your toolkit as how to deal with this. Remember, a lot of these principles will work for weight loss, will work for other things. Some of these same herbs also. So at this time, tomorrow, we'll sing us a closing song, and then God bless until next week.
Happy Sabbath once again. Please take up your hymnals and turn to hymn number 254. Hymn number 254. Our closing hymn for this evening will be number 254. us bow our heads for our closing prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, it was a blessing and it was wonderful to be in your house this day and to worship with the saints on high as we also worshiped with one another in our respective homes and places. Lord, I thank you for the things that we've learned and discussed this Sabbath. And as we're now soon to leave the Sabbath hours, I ask that you might be with us through this upcoming week. I ask that you might strengthen us, Lord, increase our faith, increase our willpower and our self-control and our desire each day, Lord, to make choices that will increase our faith and choices that will increase our health. I ask that you continue to be with us, and I ask that you might continually bless us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for joining us for worship this Sabbath day. I pray that you will have a wonderful week ahead of you. Be safe, take care of your health, and until next Sabbath, God will take care of you. Amen.